He looks at me and he goes, "Sue me."
Oh my!
And he
gosh.
walks right past me. It's my very first wedding, right? So like somehow I convinced somebody to trust me to shoot their wedding, and they offer me $3,000.
Wow, my first wedding was $300.
Yeah, I probably should have started with a $300 wedding.
Were you doing stuff before that?
I was shooting like real estate, and I was doing like some little stuff here and there, but like nothing serious.
Yeah.
Like
my first thing was that actual wedding.
Yeah. So
like,
no.
So yeah.
So this is my first wedding. Yeah. $3,000, right? And I do know enough to say I need a deposit.
Yeah.
You know, give me $1,500 up front. And basically they give me the 15 and I go buy all the gear that I need because I had none of it to get started. And I go and I buy all the gear, and the wedding's a couple months out, so, you know, everything's good. I buy the gear, I start working with it, testing it, all the things, right? First time being able to get a lot of stuff, like a slider and stuff like that. And so the wedding day shows up. I'm excited. I bring like a car full of gear, and I'm like, okay, I've only got the deposit, so I need to get the remaining balance. And I tell them, I'm like, hey, I can't start shooting until I get the remaining balance. And they're like, yeah, no problem.
Before the ceremony, or did you tell
anything.
them? Okay,
I told them like before the day. I was like, hey, I need to get the remaining balance before I start filming anything. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I show up and I'm like, hey, I need the remaining balance. And they're like, oh, Dad has the card. And I'm like, okay. Where's Dad? And they're like, he won't be here for a couple hours, but we're getting dressed. Can we just go ahead and start filming us getting dressed? And I'm like, I know I said this thing, but they are getting dressed. And like, this is my first wedding, right? So this is going to be my demo reel going forward. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll go ahead and shoot it. But when Dad gets here, I need the card. So Dad shows up and I'm filming and I go, Dad, I need the card. And he's like, I don't have the card. And I'm like, well, who has the card? He goes, my wife has the card. And I'm like, I just shot with your wife.
I'm glad that they weren't just lie. Like, I'm glad it wasn't just a lie.
Oh, hold on.
Or what?
Hold on.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Or was it?
Don't jump to the end of the story, bro. Because it gets wilder. So literally, I'm like, where's Mom? And you just shot with her. Okay, let me go back over to the ladies. I go over to the ladies and I'm like, hey, where's Mom at? And they're like, oh, Mom had to go pick up Grandma. I'm like, oh, my goodness. But now Dad and the groomsmen are there. So I got to go shoot Dad and the groomsmen. So I go and I shoot Dad and the groomsmen. And then before I know it, ceremony's about to get going. And I'm like, crap. Okay, I'm stuck. I haven't gotten paid yet, but the ceremony's about to get started. I need to start micing up people and getting cameras and getting everything set up. Now, the part of the story I haven't told you is that I actually had a friend come out to help me shoot this wedding. And he is supposed to get paid with this remaining balance. So as the day is getting further and further in, I'm getting more and more nervous. Not only am I not going to get paid, but that like my friend who I brought out is also not going to get paid. And
so like you're gonna owe
I'm
him.
Owe him money,
and
right?
You've already spent the money.
Oh, the deposit is gone. Like the deposit is long gone.
Yeah.
All I have is this remaining balance ready to pay. And the day goes on and I'm trying to constantly like, hey, who's like, I need to get payment. But when you're in the middle of a wedding, like, what are you going to do? Interrupt the bride during she cutting the cake and be like, hey, can I get that money now? Or like, you know, you get to a place where like the bride and the groom and, you know, they're dancing on the dance floor and you're like, hey, so who's got the card?
You're like that debt collector that's calling
Right.
in the middle of the ceremony.
Exactly. Like that's exactly how I felt. But like, I didn't want to ruin the day, you know? Yeah. But my day is currently like being ruined.
Oh, yeah.
And we get to the end of the night and, you know, my friend who's helping me shoot the wedding, he's like, hey, did you ever get that card? I'm like, no, but like everyone's wrapping up. Let me go find Dad. And I walk like towards the room where Dad is like changing and he has his clothes. And I see him and Mom getting into like a ferocious fight. And
very
like
awkward.
Incredibly awkward, bro. Like I like watch this and I'm just like,
is this about me?
I'm like, why? Like you guys just had a great wedding. Your daughters just got married. Like, you know, what's the deal? And so Mom comes walking down the hallway towards me. Right. And there's no way I can hide that I didn't just hear them fighting, you know, like I'm just There's nowhere for me to go.
Yeah.
So I see this, mom starts walking towards me, and immediately I'm like, ah, crap. So I'm like, hey, so who's got the card? And without a word, she just gives me a thumb back towards where dad was. And I'm like, awesome. So I walk in this room, dad's there, and he's fuming, you know?
Yeah.
He's a white guy, bigger, face is red. Like, you can tell, like, puffy, everything. You can tell he's heated. And it's the end of the night. I got no choice. I gotta get the card. And so I walk over to him and I'm like, hey, dad, like, I know it's been a long day. I've come to you guys a couple times. Your wife just told me that you have the card. I just need to get the remaining balance for the wedding. And he looks at me and he goes, at the end of my daughter's wedding, you're going to come to me for payment?
Yes, sir.
Without a shudder
Yes.
of any type of like concern. He looks at me and he goes, sue me.
Oh my God.
And he walks right past me. Jarrell, when I tell you I didn't shoot another wedding for a year,